Wah! Welcome back to the Red Ones Go Faster. I'm old Big Mek, and yesterday we talked about tiny tanks. Today we're going to talk about tiny trucks. Let's get into it. Alright, so one of the most requested things I've actually had on the channel has been about converting model kits. Lots of you know, or have watched some of my other videos or my other YouTube channel, know that I am a model builder. I started off as like a scale model builder and then discovered Warhammer, and it was like, oh, I can play with my models, right? But there's a lot of scale modeling that goes across into Warhammer. Obviously, you know, your glue and your decals and paint and, you know, all that kind of stuff, sanding sticks and airbrushes and whatnot. But the actual kits can be used too. And with how pricey Warhammer stuff can be, using a model kit that's even a fairly expensive one can save you quite a bit of money versus using a Games Workshop kit. And especially when you play orcs, like I do, making conversions out of stuff like that is like part and parcel of it, right? It's like one of the fun things about Warhammer. Now, old Big Mek here is indeed very old and subscribed to White Dwarf all the way back in the day when you would get articles like this literally in White Dwarf. There was even the infamous hover tank made out of a stick of deodorant, right? Like, it was an accepted part of the hobby from when I started. So it's still something near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've used a lot in my own orc force with different model kits. Like I said yesterday, I showed you the World War II's tank that I had made. Well, the big one that we always get with the orcs especially is, what about trucks? Right now, everybody needs trucks. They need like 6 of them, and they've just been out of stock forever. And although it's an excellent kit, it is one of the most detailed kits Games Workshop has ever made, it's also really, really, really fiddly to put together, and it is not the greatest as far as fit goes, and it takes a long time to paint, and then they all look identical. So I've converted up a couple of my trucks to look different, but there's only so much you can do. And then you have all the buggies, right? Your shock jump Dragsta and custom booster Blasta and, you know, the Snaz Wagon, right? People want to convert those too. So the big thing you want to watch out for is scale. And so this video is actually going to explain what scale means. All right. So what do I mean by scale? Scale is the size of a replica relative to the size of the real thing. This is a various collection of scale model cars to kind of show you a difference, with the smallest one here being HO scale, or 1/87th. Then we get into 1/64th scale. This is like your common Hot Wheels size. And then this particular one is kind of a funky one. It is 1/46th scale. This one is 1/38th. This one is 1/32nd. This one's 1/24th. And this one is 1/18th. Now, 1/24th is the most common scale for model cars. However, it is a terrible scale for Warhammer. And here's what I mean side by side with a typical orc truck. You can see it's a solid, at least 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 longer. And then the width kind of goes with the back there, no problem. But on the front, you can see it is actually kind of quite a bit wider too. The other problem that you have is the proportions aren't right. They don't look right. The size of a driver for a 1/24th and the size of an orc, they look really small and weedy. Then this is just too big. You don't want this. 1/18th is even more ridiculous. This 2-door sports car is bigger than a battle wagon. It's like the size of a Bane blade, right? This thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's over 10 inches long. And, you know, you pop open the door, stick an orc in there, you could stand up on the seat. It's like a little kid standing in there. So you definitely don't want anything 1/18th scale either. Then you end up with the issue of too small. I mean, look at this Hot Wheels car next to an orc. You can't use that for anything. I mean, it's even smaller than a Grot Mini tank. So, yeah, you can't even use it for that. So definitely don't waste your time on any Hot Wheels. Then you get into these pullback cars. These are pretty popular in drugstores and the like. They make all sorts of different cars in them. And they come in various scales. Like I said, this one is a 1/48th. It is too small. 1/48th is too small. That's why 1/48th scale aircraft don't really work either. Unless you're doing something kind of really, really bizarro, you could take like a MiG-15 and turn it into a DACA jet. which is a video that I have coming later. But yeah, 1/48 scale for anything ground equipment doesn't work. Way too small. even when you get to a larger scale, this is 1/38th. Okay, this is close to like what a like a tank model would be, right? For scale modeling, 1/35th is the typical size for those. That one you can start trying to get away with. So the Orc is a little too big to drive this particular car. But you are getting closer in size to things. It actually is starting to get comparable to a truck, right? It just needs to be a little bit bigger. And that's where the sweet spot comes in. The sweet spot is 1/32nd. You can see this here particular car is nearly identical in length to the truck. So a 1/32nd scale car model kit actually makes an excellent size to make your buggies off of. For example, here's a custom Booster Blasta, and while this particular car is a lot longer than a Booster Blasta, if you picked up a 1/32nd scale, say, Volkswagen Bug, check the links in the description below, you could totally make a custom Booster Blasta out of it, and it would be the right width, and it would be the right size and scale. Even things like the tires and where they would fit in the wheel well look right, because this is the right scale. Another popular one is the Shock Jump Dragster, and again, this one could work for it, right? It is about the same length, it is about the same width, and even height-wise, to the much lower profile, right? You could totally use a Lamborghini or something like that with this particular car. So what I've done is I found a number of 1/32nd scale cars that I'm going to link in the description below. Starting with this is a Bandai kit of the new Batmobile, and you can see this thing's kind of bonkers looking. It already looks like some sort of sci-fi vehicle that the Orcs would use, including having an engine in the back. This would make an excellent the Boomdaka Snazwagon, right? You could totally turn that into a dune buggy, be shooting some fire out of it. So that is a really, really cool one. Come to think of it, this one would make an excellent Shock Jump Dragster too, which that one is rear engine and kind of has this look. Here's the Beetle, like I was saying earlier, and again, this thing is excellent. At $19.99, it is less than half the price. In fact, it's actually about 60% off compared to Games Workshop for the custom Booster Blasta, and it has that, that right buggy shape in there. You just got to put a crazy engine in it and a couple of Orcs hanging out of it, and you've got yourself a buggy. This one might be my favorite one for a truck. Again, the 1/35th scale military stuff is just a little too small, and it kind of doesn't scale out correctly. And, with Orcs, you want something crazy anyway. So this definitely has Fury Road vibes to it. You can cut out the whole back of it and put a whole bunch of boys in it. And, what Warboss wouldn't want to be seen in a snazzy-looking wagon like that? This one is an interesting one. This is an Airfix kit of an Aston Martin DB5, like what James Bond would drive. It's cool because it comes with a couple of brushes and some paints that are, I'm sure, probably terrible. And cement, but hey, for $22 you get yourself a buggy and have a couple of brushes and maybe some paint that could be decent for something. Airfix also has this very interesting beach buggy. This could be a little small because they are based on real Volkswagens in real life, but this could be a really fun kit to do one of the Orc buggies out of. All right, I'm going to link this one, but I would advise against actually buying this kit. This is the AMT Monster Truck kit. I have built this kit with my son. It is terrible. It is really, really difficult to put together. It's very fiddly and ridiculous and dumb, and I wouldn't really use it. However, the wheels and tires on it are awesome. They are epic for Orc buggy making. So if you just use the wheels and tires out of it, you'll be good to go. That's just really pricey to pay for wheels and tires. So just full fair warning. If you could find this thing in a discount bin for like $5 or $10, I think it's worth it. At $33, it is not. I think one of the most intriguing is actually this Polar Lights gasser. So it's done in a cartoon style, giving it, weird proportions. And that could actually make it work really well for an Orc buggy. I mean, couldn't you see a custom Booster Blast out of this? The important thing to remember with scale is the larger the number, the smaller the item is. And it's pretty granular. I mean, I showed you 1/38. next to a 1/32, and like it was quite a bit larger. So keep that in mind when you're looking at scale things. If you find something that's like 1/40th and you're thinking, oh, it might be close enough, probably isn't. If you find something that's 1/30th, it might be okay, but you certainly don't want 1/24th or 1/25th. They just get way too big. The sweet spot really is right there in the 1/32 realm. So anything 1/32 that you find, if you think it, would make a good basis for you, again, you're the right size to throw an orc inside and turn it into a buggy or a truck or a battle wagon or something really cool. So hopefully that tip has helped you guys. I'd love to see anybody make conversions out of any of these. I'm gonna totally have to order this Batman thing. That is just way too orky looking already on its own, and I could definitely see adding some DAC into that. So yeah, maybe we'll see that one in a future video. So until next time, Wog on!